So this really caught my eye because, it's like, whoa, so you're going to have to buy an electric vehicle in California, not immediately, but not in the too distant future either. And slowly but surely, gas guzzlers are not even going to be available in California bit by bit over the next 10 years. What do you make of this policy?
I mean, it's part of the collective madness that's occurring in Western countries, including the United States right now. I mean, as you mentioned, we're in the worst energy crisis that we've been in since the early 70s. It might be much worse than that. Hundreds of millions of people are going to die of hunger this year because of expensive natural gas, because of the war on natural gas, the war on oil and gas, both by President Biden, but also you see in Canada, in Europe. So we're in a very serious crisis right now. There is reason to think that one day we will move to hydrogen fuel cell cars. It's unlikely to be a transition to electric cars, in my view, because they're basically powered with lithium, which relies on rare earths. That entire industry is based in China, and it's insane from a national security perspective to become more dependent on China at this moment in our history. These are also very expensive, very heavy vehicles. Most experts that look at this think that if we're going to move away from gasoline, it's going to be to hydrogen fuel cells. That's been the view for decades. So the idea that you're going to just ban internal combustion engines and move to, a kind of vehicle that that would increase our dependency on China at a moment like this is just bonkers. It's not going to happen. They're going to have to reverse course. But I think it epitomizes the real danger that we're in with this war on energy, and in particular, the war on oil and gas.
So it's not going to be just California either, because at least Virginia has an automatic trigger in its law saying we're going to do whatever California does when it comes to climate change regulations. And they say something like 12 to 16 other states are likely to follow suit. So if you're in a blue state, expect the same in your state if California goes through with this. Which they're saying they're going to. You're saying it's not going to happen because it's impractical, I assume. But they've resolved to do it. The vote happened on Thursday by the California air regulators. They say that this will be the one of the first such bans worldwide, just so the audience knows what we're talking about. They set interim quotas for zero emission vehicles. All right. So starting with the 2026 model cars, 35% of all new cars, SUVs and small pickups sold in California must be zero emission vehicles. That quota increases each year. It's expected to reach 51% of all new car sales in 2028. That's just 6 years away. And then by 2030, it's supposed to be 68% of all cars have to be zero emission. By 2035, 100%. So not to be too dense, but when they say you have to have a zero emission vehicle, that more than half of all new car sales in 2028, 6 years from now, have to be zero emission. Does that mean they have to be totally electric?
Yeah, electric or fuel cell. But look, I think the point of this is that, we didn't get the iPhone by banning flip phones. We didn't get internal combustion vehicles by banning horse and buggies. Innovation occurs. It becomes better and cheaper than the incumbent technology, and we move to it through market forces. Governments can help with R&D, but this thing of kind of bans on technologies that are at this moment in time superior to the technologies that they want, it's just madness. I mean, I think we're at a moment of peak climate hysteria, peak climate nihilism, where basically the concerns around climate change, some of which I hold, by the way, I think climate change is real and we should do something about, but it's just created a kind of derangement syndrome among many people on the left, where they think that somehow you just get technologies by banning this or that technology and wishing a new technology to exist in its place. It doesn't work like that. These are, we have technologies that are based on decades of development. Electric cars, they're a long ways off still. There's a lot of problems with them, as I mentioned, particularly the heavy reliance on rare earths, the heavy reliance on Chinese materials. There's a lot of talk about returning those industries to the United States. That hasn't happened, and it's unlikely to happen within the next decade, if ever, for some of the reasons I mentioned. There are good reasons to think that we'll move to hydrogen over time, But we're talking about a decades-long process. Energy transitions, like the transition from coal to oil and gas, or the transition from wood to coal before that, and the transition from what I think will eventually occur from natural gas to nuclear, these things take decades and centuries. You can't just go and make them happen in a few years. It's just politicians gone wild in California, and it's really the case all around the world. It's a kind of mania that we're experiencing right now. I think we're about to have a really abrupt wake-up call this winter when we see just how deadly many of these policies have become.
I want to get to that, but table it for right now is I want to stay on batteries for a second. So there's at least a couple of problems. One is supporting China. According to my stats, current electric vehicles depend on lithium for their batteries, which store and use energy produced elsewhere. Most lithium is produced overseas, chiefly in Australia, Chile, and China. Batteries primarily manufactured in China. The U.S. has one lithium processing facility, and it's not even among the world's top 10 lithium producing nations. So we're not going to be making these batteries. We got to get them from places like China. So we've got a problem in terms of greater dependence on China for the batteries of these cars. And we've got a problem of, you've mentioned this on the show before, the charging stations. Because anybody who's got an iPhone knows if you have something that's, electronic, you've got to charge it at one point or another. And the same is true for the batteries inside of these cars. And does California have the infrastructure to charge, I don't know how many people are in the state of California, to charge all of their electric vehicles by, 10 years from now?
No, it does not. Absolutely does not. The materials component, just one more thing on that. It's a huge issue. It's not just lithium. It's also nickel. It's also rare earths. We know that the mining of these rare earths is incredibly destructive. The Associated Press just came out with a major report about how devastating rare earth mining. These are these very, they're actually common minerals, but they're at low levels in the earth. And so you have to dig up a lot of earth to get a small amount of these pure elements. But devastating impact on the rainforests of Burma, of Myanmar. We also know that they're all processed in China. In the refining process itself is incredibly energy intensive, incredibly dirty. It's very unlikely to see these industries coming back to the United States, given our very high environmental standards. So there's just a huge minerals component of this that is being underestimated. Yes, the charging stations is, of course, a huge obstacle. There's no universal agreement on what the kind of charging system should be. There's been some conflicts between the electric automakers around what that standard should be. And then there's many other issues. Another issue is that fast charging has been promoted as a way to really quickly refuel the electric cars with electricity. But that itself actually puts a heavy toll on their batteries. It makes the batteries run out much faster than in a normal refueling. So, those are some of the problems. Another problem, of course, is that you're having multiple energy conversions. Just to get a little wonky here, what you want is every time you convert energy, either from chemicals into electricity or from a fuel like coal or natural gas into heat and then into electricity, you're paying a penalty that has an economic cost. And so you want to reduce the number of energy conversions. With a hydrogen fuel cell, you only have one conversion, which is from natural gas to hydrogen. Eventually in the future, it would be from water to hydrogen. But with the electric vehicles, you're having at least one or two more energy conversions, which makes the cost of it that much higher. So yeah, I guess the bottom line, because there's a lot of complexity here, but the bottom line is that these are technologies that are simply not ready. They're very expensive. They require an increased dependence on China at a time where we really don't want to become more dependent on China.
Like so many people, I am eating healthier these days, and that is the reason why I love good olive oil. And by good, I mean fresh. Olive oil packs the most flavor and healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. Did you know that? You probably just grab it off the grocery store shelf, like I was doing. And that's the problem though, okay? Because supermarket olive oils are not fresh. And that actually makes a difference. They can sit on the shelf for months, growing stale and kind of lame. You don't even know that there's another gear olive oil can shift into. And that is why I love my olive oil direct from small award-winning farms, thanks to a guy named TJ Robinson, also known as the olive oil hunter. Now, when I first tasted TJ's Farm Fresh oils, I fell in love with them. First, they sent me a bottle. I was like, olive oil, it's kind of all the same. No, it is not. You got to put this stuff on anything. Put it on salad, put it on veggies, pasta, meat, fish. You will taste the difference. As an introduction to TJ's Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club, TJ is going to send you a full-size bottle. It's worth $39 of one of the world's finest artisanal olive oils, fresh from the new harvest, for $1. $1. That's all he's going to charge you. And that just covers his shipping. Best of all, with TJ's Club, there's never a commitment to buy anything, now or ever. And you can cancel your membership at any time. So get your free $39 bottle for just $1 shipping and taste the difference freshness makes. Go to harvestfreshnow.com. That's harvestfreshnow.com for a free bottle and pay just $1 shipping. harvestfreshnow.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.